What is going on, everybody? Sorry about the delay. We're having some weird kind of technical difficulties with Restream. The controls just are not operating the way that they're supposed to. So hopefully you saw the intro video. We're going to do our best to get through it. The main thing is as long as we're broadcasting, that's kind of all that matters. So, anyways, welcome to the show. Happy Texans Talking Tuesday, right? You guys all know me. I'm the loudmouth of the South, SAJ. I am actually coming to you live from the Sizzler Steakhouse. I
Okay.
don't know if I've done that one before, and I've got one more I'm going to save for next week, but they're all food related because I'm
Hey,
a
you know
fat.
what? That's perfectly fine. I mean, it's kind of what we've kind of gone to anyways. That's what closes the most. But what is up,
Yep.
everybody? I am BD, and today I'm going to be coming at you from the You Are Cooks Studios. Remember that place?
Nice. I do not, but okay.
It was
Uh,
it was like a gimmick steakhouse or whatever that basically you go there, they provide the steak or whatever, and you just cook it yourself.
wow, that's weird. Oh, you know what? I do remember that place now. Now that you say it, I've
Yeah,
never been though.
I never went
Uh,
either, but I was like, why the hell am I going to go to a restaurant and cook my own food? You know?
yeah, I mean, couldn't you just do that in your kitchen? Like, isn't that
Yeah.
the whole point of a kitchen? I mean, I don't know. What do I know, right? Anyways,
Whole lot
so
of
we have
nothing.
got, yeah, we have got a lot to talk about. Obviously for, fans that are, crossover fans of both shows. Um, yeah, hun, it's kind of like that a little bit different though. Like, at the Korean barbecue, you kind of, have the food prepared. You just need to do the cooking and you can kind of do your own thing with it, whatever you decide. With that, you are cooked, like you seasoned it, you had to do everything. Um, and I'm really surprised that they probably didn't have you clean the tables and stuff when you were done too. And probably weren't allowed to get the tip either. You know what I mean? Well, I mean, different kind of tip, but you get it. What's up,
Oh,
Mike
now.
G? Uh, so anyways, a lot going on. Obviously, fans of our show, probably fans of the other show as well, the Horns Forward podcast. You can see the banner still flying proudly in the background. We had our kind of farewell show last night, and it went easily 2 hours,
Yeah,
not even
two
counting.
15. Got a little surprised we're still able to make it tonight. I mean that's just the kind of professionals that we are. Talked for 2.5 hours last night. Let's just roll it back and do it again.
Yeah, we'll go with the professional part. Uh, the uh, the show was a great show. It was a great send off to an incredible 3 year run. Stinks that that is kind of over, but all that means is just that that's one chapter that's over. We move on to a new thing. So as you heard, we're going to be starting a different podcast. Obviously, Texans Talking Football still going strong. We're episode 122 now, which is well over 3 years, and we've got a lot to talk about tonight. So without further ado, I you want to go ahead and start with NFL because I mean that was kind
Yeah,
of
I think
the
so.
biggest one.
You know,
Okay, so uh, not real surprising, results this weekend. I will say that the Eagles and Vikings game was, I mean, it turned out to be a pretty good game. I mean, it was a pretty
yeah.
solid contest overall. Of course, I'm glad the Eagles won. You're probably not because that has implications for your division, but that's good for me because it kind of holds them back a little bit. Um, the Giants Broncos game was close. I
That
don't know
was
that I'd say it
that was a
was.
good game, man. And I mean, I don't know how much of it you watched or if you just kind of saw some highlights. I caught it kind of at the tail end of the game. I was watching the Cowboys game, and once that one ended, it kind of flipped it to the other one. Uh Man, it was a hell of a comeback by the Broncos, and it you
Mhm.
know it, the Giants got out to a big lead. I mean, Broncos scored 33 points. All those points they scored in the fourth quarter, and just came down. I mean, Giants, just did what the Giants do, scored a touchdown to take the lead, but then missed the extra point. So that's why they were only up by 2. And then, yeah, I mean, left what 30 seconds on the clock, and the Broncos just had to go down and kick a field goal, and they did. And yeah, it was crazy.
I did get to see that part, and it was pretty dang surprising.
And
But
XFLMIG, yeah, yes, she did, and she was very disappointed again. But it's she's kind of been normal for her this season for her Dolphins. So
yeah, it's unfortunate because again, we talked about it. There was some speculation from a few people, and I kind of jumped in on it that the Dolphins were going to be the dark horse of the league this year, that they're going to come from out of nowhere and really surprise the whole league. And they surprised us with how bad they were instead.
you know what
So
what we talked last week that Tua basically came interview at the end of the game last week and called out the leadership, the coaching, the players that didn't care and didn't show up to the players only meeting and all that stuff. Look, man, if you're gonna make statements like that, you gotta bring it in the next game. And the only thing he brought was, I think, 3 interceptions. Ended up getting benched in the fourth quarter, so that was not a good look for Tua.
it was not. And I think at some point Tua had, you know, Major League Football caliber skills. I'm not saying the skills are not necessarily gone, but the attitude sure is kind of ruining a lot of that. A leader of a team would not be kind of throwing everybody else under the bus, the coaches, the other players, no matter how frustrated you
Not
are.
not in the media, like you
Yeah,
say
yeah.
that stuff behind closed doors.
Hmm. Yeah, you say that to them and address it to them, and kind of take those battles on privately one on one, rather than airing your dirty laundry kind of out there for everybody to see. And that part really kind of surprised me that he was willing to kind of make that public, right? I mean, I understand you can be frustrated and things like that, but the true leaders out on the gridiron, they're the ones that are saying, "Hey, look, we have a problem in the locker room. It's my responsibility to address this, and I am going to. This is my job as the quarterback, as the leader, to make sure that we're all working together. And I'm not saying it's any one person's fault. We're just all off right now, and we're going to get it figured out, right? That's the safe and simple answer.
No.
But that's kind of not happening, and that's really surprising, and it's really kind of sad. So, uh, should we start a poll now and see what the odds are on Tua, coming back next year?
Oh, I don't
We
think he's
probably
coming back at all. I'm putting money on McDaniel being fired within the next couple of weeks. So
Yeah, I mean, there's very good evidence to kind of back that up, and I'm not sure. I don't even know if he's going to make it the next couple of weeks. We'll have to see. Right. So, Brian, happy Sunday for you.
it
Right, your
worked. And
Cowboys.
last week I bashed Matt Eberflus, demanded that he be fired, and I I I think I owe him somewhat of an apology. He seemed to have found the key to the secret to defense, I guess you want to call it. And really, all it takes is your opponent's top 3 wide receivers to be out of the game and to knock the opposing quarterback out during the third quarter. That's what you have to do to have a successful defensive plan. So we can just do that for the rest of the season. Cowboys will be unstoppable.
That would be an interesting game plan to be able to execute every single week.
Yeah, we just got to
With
figure out how to make that work. But other than
yeah,
that, look, like I said, I Washington missing their 3 wide receivers and their quarterback for most of the game, still put up 22 points. Um, uh, the great. We got to win against a team that had no players. No their skill position players were all gone. Uh, I'm glad that we beat Washington. Anytime we beat Washington, it makes me happy. But this tells me nothing about the team. Um, just okay. We beat a team without any players. Cool. We basically beat a preseason team. Is what we did.
What I would like to know, because I don't know if I'm necessarily going to be able to see how his contribution was to the team, but I really would like to see how Kenny Clark is kind of helping your team out because I have to
Two,
believe.
tack two tackles last week. He actually did get injured later in the game. Went out. I don't remember if he came back or what happened with that. He's not lighting up the scoreboard when it comes to tackles. I think he had one tackle last week. Um, as far as his big thing is he's a run stopper. Washington put up 136 yards rushing. We've been getting killed in the rush for a lot of these games. So, you know, uh, I don't think it's all on him. I think the rest of our line sucks as well. So, yeah, that's definitely needs some help. But there are some rumors that Jerry may be doing some wheeling and dealing to maybe bring some help. I've seen a couple interesting names in the news.
Yeah, there definitely are a couple.
I don't know if you want to get into
And
that now or maybe save that for later or what, but
well, let's get into that in a little bit because obviously we need to talk about the trade deadline and kind of who needs what. And
yeah,
obviously Green Bay needs a lot of things right now. But the one thing they don't need is a number one wide receiver because Matthew Golden has stepped up in a big way. I know it's not your team. You're probably not super interested in watching it as closely as I am. This game was a little bit of, again, another struggle bus. We're going up against the Arizona Cardinals, who weren't exactly, a team that you would necessarily have to worry about too much. Uh, Brissett, backup quarterback, uh, and he still went 25 of 36, 279 yards, two touchdowns, uh, but six sacks. So this game, I will say it that Micah Parsons finally paid off a little bit. Is it going to be worth it in the long run? I still don't think it is, but at least we're starting to get some contribution from him, right? Now, again, you can't really measure the quarterback pressure that he's putting on and stuff
yeah.
when he's taking on two offensive linemen, right? It's going to be really hard to kind of calculate how that contributes into the game. However, this game, for some reason, Arizona thought that they could just single team him and be okay, and it cost them quite a bit.
They look
And
at the stats, be
I
like, oh,
believe
he's
that,
only got one sack this season. Nah, he's not the same. We'll be fine.
yeah. Well, and he got what, four himself this game,
Dang,
and
I honestly I didn't see any highlights from the game, or if I did, it was maybe 10 seconds of highlights. So
uh, pressured quarterback five times, four solo tackles, three sacks. Um,
dang,
however, however, some other guys stepped up in a big way also. Quay Walker, who we haven't really heard much of. He's kind of just one of those silent players that hangs around, does his job, but you don't really hear too much from him. Well, you did this week. McDuffie did a pretty good job also. Williams stepped up. Uh, Wooden, this guy I've been watching and hoping that was going to do something on the edges. He has, you know, been making a difference now. And what really surprised me was kind of we had, some secondary defense this game, right? Because Arizona's got some pretty good receivers. Now, were we great? No. they've got some good receivers.
They have some
Uh,
okay receivers, but I mean,
yeah, I mean it's not. Are you betting the farm on them? Like for example, McBride. McBride is a heck of a tight end. Um,
yeah.
and 10 receptions, 74 yards, two tutties, right? So he gets the job done. He is just kind of one of those old school powerhouse kind of guys. And I will say I love
Which
the
is the kind
fact
of
that Tucker
the tight
Kraft.
end that I like. He's the one that does the dirty work. So
Mhm. And I was going to say Tucker Kraft is kind of going down that same path also. So I'm extremely
yeah.
thankful that we've got him, right? The Matthew Golden, 4 receptions, 37 yards. Longest was 17. He's getting those opportunities, man. And I think what it is that he's starting to run some more of those slot routes. And so people are expecting him to go deep because he's a speedster, and he doesn't. And he's over on the other side of the field, boom, open, right? So I'm wondering if we're kind of maybe trying people in different scenarios and seeing if we can't get better results. And maybe that's going to help Jordan Love out. Um,
So I
I
was
didn't
going to
see us.
ask you, like, how do you feel about Jordan Love? I mean, it seems to be kind of underperforming a little bit this season. I mean, this he only had 179 yards this game. One touchdown, no interceptions again, which is good. But I don't see the numbers coming from him that you would expect.
Yeah, especially this being year three in his NFL campaign. I'm I'm torn, man. I mean, seriously, I'm torn because I feel like he should be putting up better numbers. He likes to consider himself a gunslinger, like a Brett Favre type. And yeah, Brett Favre played loose. Brett Favre played crazy, but Brett Favre got results, right? And I don't know that we're
I mean,
necessarily
to
seeing
be
that.
fair, once again, and I was kind of waiting on this until you finish up, but comment you made a while ago, Green Bay needs a lot of help. Y'all are currently number one in the conference, so you don't need that much help. You're already at the top, so
Having been around as long as I have, Brian, having been around as long as you have, you see things, you can see patterns, things, right? It would be like looking at Prescott and saying, I wonder if maybe we need a little help there. Maybe we need to fine tune some things with Dak Prescott, right? Prescott in the regular season, we know is one hell of a quarterback. He should be considered one of the better quarterbacks in the league. Now, when we get in the playoffs, playoff Prescott is not
playoffs?
like he's not the guy you bring,
No,
you know.
no, hell no.
So I'm I'm wa- I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that some of it is just new people and right because right now the only real target that he has any kind of chemistry with uh would be Kraft and Romeo Dobbs. And I think Romeo didn't play much of a factor last year, and his number one, Christian Watson, is still out on injury, right? So
So
there's
for the season, Love, I mean, he's got over 1,400 yards. So he's got just shy of about 250 per game. 10 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I mean, 6 games in, you know,
he should only have one interception though, because I specifically saw him last week force a ball and went right into a defender's hands. Like literally, that
no.
pass was meant for that guy. And right here, Mike G is calling it out also. He presses. And that's fine if you press, if you've got the skill set and the presence and the field knowledge to be able to do some of those things, knowing that you're going to make a mistake, but knowing how to be able to fix that mistake. And I don't think he's quite there yet. I do think there might be hope. Let me say that. Okay. I do think there might be hope on the horizon because as we are starting to move into the middle of the season and, injuries and things like that are starting to kind of pile up, and teams are really kind of having to make do with some of the things that they have. That I think Jordan Love is getting a little bit more familiarity with his targets, which should help him start making better decisions because he's going to know what they're capable of and where he can push and where he can't, maybe, right?
No.
So hopefully we see that happen.
I will say though, I mean,
Um,
two interceptions in 6 games. That's not terrible. That's actually pretty good. It could be Geno Smith who has 10. You know, so
and he's only played like 25 minutes. Poor guy. But yeah, so I'm torn on Green Bay. I think they are getting better. I think Micah Parsons is actually starting to have a bit of a contribution, which obviously, when the defense is doing well, it takes pressure off of your offense to be able to kind of get more in a rhythm. I'm hopeful the pieces are coming together. I'm still not a big fan of the Parsons trade, but maybe it's going to pay off some dividends further down the road, right? Uh, I kind of was surprised, honestly. Some of the other games that the 49ers and Falcons game wound up going the way that it did. And last night's one of two NFL games, which was absolutely ridiculous, by the way. Um, Lions trounced the Buccaneers. They
yeah,
looked like the Lions from last year, and that was
and the
good.
Bucks looked like the Bucks from like 4 years ago.
That's true.
Like
That's true.
the year after. Well, I guess probably I would say the year before Brady got there because I think Baker's came right after Brady did, and they've done pretty good since then.
Yeah. So, oh, hang on. Uh, Mike G wants to know what team has scored the most points in the NFC so far this season. And um, that is a good question. I'm sure you're pulling it up, B.
I am.
So what do you got? Because I'm going to guess it is probably not the it's probably not the Panthers, but they're not in the NFC though. So
It's in the
um,
NFC. It is
yeah,
the very own America's team, Dallas Cowboys.
well, there you go.
Second in the
Um,
league in scoring. Indiana is first, surprisingly. Uh, Lions are right behind the Cowboys. So Cowboys are averaging 31.7 points a game. Lions are 30.7.
see
Now,
that
now
doesn't surprise
let's
me.
take a look at the defensive stats, shall we?
I'd rather not. Um,
See, Cowboys still lead the league in yards given up,
yeah,
and we are third for points given up. So, yeah.
yeah, I mean, not that big of a deal, right? Um, but yeah, so there were some weird games this weekend, not nearly like what it was last weekend, but still some that were kind of like, really? Like again, that Buccaneers Detroit game was just kind of surprising. I will say, oh look, see, I love the lag here, right? He told you not to do it after you already did
Yeah,
it.
already
So
too late. It's done.
yep. It's like pulling the pin and throwing the hand grenade, and then uh your front line saying, "Hey, wait, don't throw that grenade yet." Oops. Um, what was I going to say? Good representation this weekend by former UFL players, right? Obviously, we saw uh the the cat. Speaking of cats, the cat's going crazy. The Detroit's player that was a former UFL player had a really good game this weekend. There's a couple other guys.
You talking about Jake Bates or another one?
Not Jake Bates, it was another guy. Uh uh this guy.
Go away, birds.
Uh go away, birds. Jackie, get your friend, please. Um, I can't remember. I'm gonna have to go back and look at who it was. We were just talking about it with Lauren from My Panther Pride. And but yeah, just in general, Green Bay's kicker, who again was a substitute teacher. Now he's a Green Bay kicker, and he did really good this weekend again. Jake Bates pretty much does great all the time. There's just, again, everybody that is had the opportunity to kind of step up for the most part really has been killing it. Not sure where we're at with Parker Romo. I don't know if he's, I don't think he's the starter anymore uh with the
I thought he was. I
Falcons.
thought he was still
Um,
over. I thought he was still kicking at Atlanta.
is he? I hope so. Because I would love to see that, he's getting
I'll
that
let you know in just
opportunity.
1 second.
There you go. And it's okay, if kickers kind of have some bad days, but he's got to make sure that he's got the consistency going on, and he should be fine. But again, things going pretty good for the UFL players that have made it up into the NFL. What's not going so well is that we did have some pretty nasty injuries, and God, who was it? Um, Somebody went out with a broken collarbone. Mike Evans. Mike Evans went out with a
Yeah,
broken
that was
collarbone.
Mike. Yeah, that was yesterday. That man, I feel bad for the guy. He just got off. Missed whatever 4 games or whatever with a hamstring injury.
Mhm.
He's last season tied Jerry Rice's record for straight 1,000-yard seasons. Was going to break the record this season, and I mean he's basically done for the year. I mean, they maybe there's a chance he could play like the last game or two or in the playoffs or something like that. But I mean, why at this point? Why? Uh, unless they're poised to make a deep run or something. But man, you feel for the guy. Uh, I've always liked Evans. Obviously, he's a former Aggie. Uh, Basically, he's the reason that Johnny Manziel won the Heisman because
Yeah.
Manziel was like, "Screw it, Mike Evans is down there somewhere. I'm just going to throw it up." So
Yeah. I mean, when you know you've got a target like that, you don't really have to worry about it. Um, Notable injuries. Michael Penix did get his ankle rolled up. Does not look like it's necessarily serious. He was able to finish the game, but that might be something. If you got Penix on your fantasy football team, you're going to want to keep an eye on that, right? If it is a bigger injury, he may be scratched for this next weekend. We're just not sure. Who else took a pretty nasty hit? For the most part, it looks like people were ruled out kind of before games, wear and tear, banged up kind of stuff. Uh, Tyrod Taylor came in for Justin Fields, right? That's
well, that was the injury. That's just because Justin Fields sucks.
well, an injury to his pride, maybe. I mean, it's going to count as something, right?
Well, I mean, speaking of that though, the the owner of the Jets basically called out Justin Fields.
Wow.
Said, and today that was today. It was I'm gonna paraphrase a little bit, but it was basically like I guess they had asked him about the head coach. I was Aaron Glenn, who just took over for the Jets, was over in Detroit.
Mhm.
Um, how he's doing, I guess, or his status or whatever. And the comment was something along the lines of, when you have a quarterback with the rating that we do, you can't expect much from a head coach.
Wow. Yeah, that's man. You didn't even hear the bus coming that he threw him under.
Dude, that was yeah.
That was bad. Um, so yeah, again, injuries, which is part of, pro football, they're kind of, we didn't have too terribly. I mean, we had there's a pretty good laundry list here, but not anything where it was like, like season ending or anything like that, like we've had the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So, uh, anyways, that being the case, uh, pretty much covers that. There's one Sauce Gardner. I just love that dude's name. It's just such a cool name. But anyways, he apparently suffered a concussion and had to come out on Sunday's game. So, hopefully he bounces back from that pretty quickly. Other than that, eh, not too terribly much going on. One thing we do need to talk about though, right? Because we're getting towards that time. NFL trade deadline is coming up on November 4th, which isn't too terribly, far away. Oh, that's brutal. I mean, just put it on All Madden and see what roster comes up. Anyways,
Right.
uh, again, that being the case, we need to start talking about what our teams need. So, B, at this point, what do you think Dallas needs to be able to be successful?
I mean, really, we need a whole new damn defense, but that we're not going to get that in the trade. But like I said earlier, there's a couple rumors that are little little interesting. I yesterday uh the it was kind of that Cowboys might be interested in Henderson from the Bengals, which would be a huge pickup. I don't think there's too much going to go with that. But now today, there's been a little bit of noise that they may be interested in one Max Crosby. And to kind of add to that, who knows? But Crosby just added a bunch of Cowboys players on Instagram.
Hmm.
So started following them. You know, you know, read what into that what you will. You know, I don't read too much into it, but I do think it's pretty interesting. I will say, picking up a player like Max Crosby would be an absolute game changer for our defense. Have him, have Kenny Clark. Um, then you're back at pressuring the quarterback quickly, which lets up on our secondary, which obviously is terrible when there's the quarterbacks have a lot of time. They can't cover for an extended period, which is obviously what we've said before a lot of time, which was great about Micah Parsons. He can get to a quarterback quickly, disrupt that, so the secondary doesn't have to cover as long. If we can get a player of that capabilities, then maybe we could do something. Um, it'd be interesting. We got a lot of picks. We do have some picks from the Packers, so maybe combine those, do something. I'm just saying. I'm not gonna get too excited, but I'm just thinking.
Yeah, no, and this is the time to make those kinds of speculations because, we obviously don't know what exactly is going to happen behind the scenes. I will say, looking at the NFC East in general, NFL.com's prediction is, the Eagles need a cornerback, Cowboys need safeties, Washington Commanders need secondary, right? And the New York Giants need cap space because they've got some pretty massive dead weight on their roster. So that's going to be tough to try and unload. So I think New York, eh, as good as they've kind of been the last couple of weeks, there's not really going to be much help for them. Right.
I mean,
Cowboys.
Jackson Dart's exciting. Scadaboo, I love watching that kid. I think CTE falls asleep and has nightmares of him at
Yes.
night.
Yes.
But I mean, dude, he's gonna have the most fantastic 3-year career ever. But
Three?
I love maybe, but I love watching him play. I don't know how sustainable that is. So
It's
I,
not.
I'm expecting the Giants will probably come back down to earth, realize that they're the Giants,
Mhm.
probably this week because I think they play the Eagles. So,
Yeah.
and
It's
the Eagles are a little pissed off after losing to them a couple weeks ago. So,
oh yeah. Yeah. So over in the NFC North, check this out. Green Bay, first place, right? With a tie. That shouldn't even we should be penalized for that. Anyways, biggest need, cornerback. Okay. I mean, you've heard me talk about that. I've said it, ad nauseum. Detroit, cornerback. Chicago in third place.
bro, they need a whole. They did. I mean, if you saw last night, their entire
Oh,
secondary was injured,
yeah.
which is even more surprising that Tampa only put up 9 points. I thought
Mhm.
Baker was going to have a field day, and he didn't, and my fantasy team suffered because of that. But
Yeah. But so Chicago, of course, needs a cornerback. And then Minnesota needs an offensive line. And we talked about that. We talked about that several weeks ago because that's what led to the McCarthy injury, right?
Yeah.
Is the struggling offensive line. And this is where, I'm really surprised that I'm not seeing some of the UFL cats that did really well on the offensive line. Because remember how bad we struggled just as a league with offensive linemen because we're going through so many of them. Um, but I'm really surprised we're not seeing some of those guys getting elevated up and some of the practice squad guys, kind of coming up. But so that's kind of where we're at with the NFC North. Uh, NFC South, Tampa Bay needs some coverage linebackers. Carolina Panthers need a whole
They
team.
need another wide receiver now.
Yeah. Ugh. Yes. That's so sad. Um, there's a there's a lot of just needs in general in the NFC South, poor NFC South. Um, but
I think
I,
can the NFC South, can they just like get 4 new teams? Is that possible?
I wish that was the case, but no, unfortunately, you can't do that. So yeah, anyways, there's a whole bunch. I mean, obviously we've got 32 teams to talk about, and we're not going to cover every single one of them. Dolphins, of course, PS, they need cap space because they need to start all over. So be ready for that. It's going to be a long couple of years. But otherwise, you can head over to NFL.com and see the news story where they're talking about all the different teams and the experts' needs or speculations and whatever. But yeah, I think we're gonna see some interesting moves. I do think that the Cowboys are gonna make some strong moves to pick up some help on defense. I'm hopeful that the Packers are able to get some deals as well. I know money is going to be super tight with everything that we've invested in Parsons, so I don't know that we're going to get a big name guy in the secondary. But hopefully we get somebody who's got some experience that can maybe help out. We've
Yeah.
got to wait and see. It's all got to be done before November 4th, though. So, the week before, and especially like the day of, expect to see a lot of action this year. Now, let's talk about football, or college football, rather.
I was like,
Um,
is that what we're doing already?
yeah, we'll kick into that real quick because there's not really necessarily a whole bunch to talk about. Texas beat up on, well, actually, no, they didn't really beat
I
up
wouldn't
on.
say beat up.
Yeah,
I would
no,
say
I,
tried
I
their damnedest to lose that game.
yeah,
And then Kentucky was just like, no, we don't want it. You guys go ahead and take it.
yeah.
We just don't want this game at all.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was looking at the wrong column here. Yeah, Texas did not. That was not a great game, and I feel bad for my UT friends. This was not, a shining moment in Texas football history. But I mean, it is what it is, right? That program is going through some changes. I know Arch is definitely trying to do his best there in Austin. The coaches are
Is
trying
he
to
though?
do the best with what they have. You can't say that he's not trying. I mean, the results don't necessarily match up with the effort, but the effort I have to believe is there. Maybe he's just not that good, you know? And so now it's starting to show that, maybe I don't want to say that he got there because of his name, but
He have 1,000% did. He's got some skill. Let's not he didn't only get there because of his name, but he's talented. But let's be real. This is his first full like starting in college. He
that's
he
true.
was he was behind Ewers last year. He came in for a little bit, had some moments here and there. Um, got the fan base riled up for had some really good flashes, but now this is all on him. And so,
Mhm.
you know, basically a freshman, a rookie, starting. so that you would expect there to be a little bit of a learning curve, and that's kind of what they're going through right now. I don't I don't think he sucks. He's definitely not what what he was expected to be or anticipated to be at the start. Obviously he was the Heisman favorite going into the season, and that's just too
Mhm.
much to ask out of a player who hasn't started hardly at all.
Right,
Who
right.
hasn't
A
who
sophomore
hasn't
who's
taken a team for an entire season. So
mhm. I was just going to say a sophomore who's basically redoing his freshman year,
yeah,
right? So I'm sure with a little bit more coaching and a little bit more training, Arch can elevate his game and get a little bit better and maybe make a difference next year. I think this year, we're kind of so far into it. I don't know that there's much that can be done. I think the goal would be just to try and finish out with a somewhat decent record. I mean, we've got 5 games left. One, two, three, 4 of those games are against ranked opponents, and I believe they're all in the SEC, and it's going to be messy, you know. So we'll see what happens, but hopefully he can land somewhere in the middle with the season, and then have some time to kind of regroup, reevaluate, get some additional training, come back a little bit sharper next year.
yeah.
Now let's talk about your Aggies, right? Your precious Aggies. They You guys played
Still
Arkansas,
undefeated. Still undefeated.
but it was
Uh,
close.
it was close. It was closer than it should have been. Uh,
Hmm.
Aggies played our worst defensive game of the season by far. Um, Now, I will say, Texas A&M last year, previous years, probably would have lost this game. So the fact that we were still able to pull out a win was good. Hopefully, this is our one bad defensive game for the season because we've got quite a few games left, and our defense needs to step up. Um, what I talked about last week, our third down efficiency for the last 3 games had been 2 of 35 or something. Like opponents had only gotten a first down twice in the last 35 attempts. Well, Arkansas was 4 for 10 this week, so still pretty good. I mean, 40%, 60% success rate on third down for the Aggie defense, but
Yeah.
it's not as good as what they had been. But it was. You're always going to have those games in a season. You're just not going to be. You're not going to play great. To be able to get a win for those games is encouraging. And then, yeah, I mean, Marcel Reed played good. 23 of 32. He's playing a little more efficient, a little more accurate passing. He'll still get those little squirrely passes occasionally that go awry, but he played good. And then our rushing, I said this last week. This team is built on run first, and how is it going to be with Moss being injured, and put up 217 yards rushing. So I think that's pretty good. Owens, stepped in pretty good. 14 carries for 69 yards. Marcel had 6 carries for 55 yards. And old EJ Smith, Emmett's son, 7 carries for 52 yards. So I mean, there's a lot of encouraging things from the game, even though it wasn't our best outing. So
Yeah, I can definitely see that. But, there's hope, right? But these
there's
games are going
hope.
to matter.
Now, this coming week is going to be a test. Playing LSU in LSU just a week after LSU got their ass kicked by Vanderbilt. So they're probably going to be a little pissed off. Aggie's going to have to come in crisp. Like what happened this past week? They got to get all those kinks out, and they got to play a great game to have a chance to win.
Yeah. So let's take a look to our friends a little bit closer to home, and that's the UTSA Roadrunners, who just last week had an incredible win over Rice. It was an important game. Yeah, I thought spirits were elevated. Everything was going to be awesome. And North Texas said no. They flat out said no. UTSA got whooped 55-17, and it was not, I mean, it was
Ooh.
bad. Yeah. McCown, 11 to 20, 84 yards, one touchdown, compared to University or North Texas quarterback who went 22 to 35, 277 yards and four touchdowns. Rushing, San Antonio and North Texas were pretty close, 138 yards, 133 yards. And of course, Henry did it in less attempts. So that's good. But outside of that, there was no, here's the thing that was really upsetting, man. I turned that game on because we were having a yard sale here at the house. And so I turned it on in the garage so I could watch it. And I was super excited. UTSA has the ball. They take it downfield in like 2.5 minutes, score. No problem. Hit the extra point. Everything is great. They hold North Texas to a field goal. Uh, and then North Texas basically gets, the UTSA goes 3 and out. North Texas gets the ball, marches downfield, scores a touchdown, and then it just started grinding from there. It was, and UTSA, to their credit, did get a second touchdown towards the end of the second quarter, but it was just bad after that. And just, play kind of stagnated. Defense was just gassed. It was rough. So this season is not going to be a good season. And we still have five more games. They're all conference opponents for the most part, I believe. I believe all of them are. I'm just not sure about Charlotte. But Tulane is next. Tulane has never been an easy game. I don't suspect, and it's a Thursday night game, so I don't suspect that this is going to go very well. We have to play South Florida in about a week and a half. They're ranked, right? And we don't do good when we play ranked teams. Just look at when we played A&M, you know. Um, this is going to be rough, man. And I've got some feelings about what is going to potentially happen at the UTSA program. I hope I'm wrong, because again, these are just feelings and speculation. I hope I'm wrong, but I have a feeling that there may be some frustration in the coaching staff. We may be seeing some changes next year. I hope not, but we'll see what happens. So,
Do you
uh,
say changes as far as the the team, the athletic director telling the coach to thank you for his services, or the
oh
coach
no,
saying, "Oh, this is a little shiny shining object over here at you know Penn State or anywhere else that I'm going to go take a look
or
at."
Arkansas maybe, right? Um, I think it's going to be the latter. I'm not saying. I mean, Trailer has said several times he's made the commitment to stay with UTSA and stuff like that. But the last couple of years, he's also been talking about the frustration he's been having with the drafting and the what is it, the UIL
The
money.
UIL,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um, UTSA is not getting the money. They're not getting the commits that some of these other universities are, which means that he's having to do kind of more with less, right? And that's
yeah,
hard. That's really hard on a coach, especially when you have a guy like Frank Harris for essentially 7 years, and you can go on this tear, and then the next guy up is not Frank Harris. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Uh, and Mike, you're not wrong. I mean, Texas Tech is a great example of this whole
yeah.
NIL fiasco, but I mean, it's working there. We're not getting that kind of stuff here. I mean,
The problem is UTSA does not have the resources, the alumni, the money coming in that Texas Tech does, that
mhm.
any of the big schools do, and so they are at a disadvantage when the Texas Tech is able to throw stupid money at players and completely overhaul their roster one season to the next. You
Yeah.
know, UTSA is at a disadvantage, a major one. And honestly, for Traylor to kind of last this long there with those struggles, kind of surprising. I mean,
Mhm.
he's a hell of a coach,
He is.
and
He is.
he could be a big name coach
Mhm.
in a bigger program.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah, and he's. I appreciate his loyalty and his humbleness and his dedication to the city of San Antonio, but he is a big coach on a small stage,
yeah,
and he should probably be a big coach on a big stage. So we're very fortunate to have him for as long as we have. I don't know that we're going to keep him for very much longer. And I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I mean, he's made the commitment to San Antonio several times because he's been asked about it before, and he's been offered some ridiculous money for some ridiculous positions, and he hasn't taken them. So maybe he's a man of his word. The money's awesome.
eventually though, you got to look at it as okay. I'm really frustrated with what I have the capabilities of here,
Yeah,
and this school is offering me a stupid amount of money. They have way more capabilities. I just, I think it's just a matter of time. He's gonna take one of those bigger jobs, and I hate it for UTSA, but you know,
yeah. So speaking of hating things, I hate the fact that Texas State lost. Because if you look at that game, that was a double overtime game, and it was a dogfight back and forth, man. Uh, I didn't get to watch really any of it, but I was getting updates on my phone, and it just, again, it just back and forth, man. It was just a battle all the way to the very end. And it was that last possession, you know, Texas State was held to a field goal, and Marshall was able to sneak in a touchdown, which put him up three and gave him the win. But so yeah, Texas State's program now drops to 3-4, and they're definitely not on the charge that they were last year, but they
yeah,
don't
I mean,
look
I really
horrible.
haven't been following Texas State at all, but I do seem to remember last year they were doing real good.
Hmm. Well, and our very own XFL Mike G loves to follow Texas State. That's he's got an allegiance there, and he would tell you that last year Texas State did really well. This year, maybe not so much. I will say though, kind of surprised their quarterback 26 to 38, 444 yards, two touchdowns, one interception. Our quarterback at UTSA, 84 yards total. Like, can we do a little switcheroo? Like, can a brother get some help here? Because this is not working. That's all I'm saying. But so yeah. Anyways, UTSA is playing Tulane. Uh, Texas State is playing James Madison on a Tuesday night, which will be next week, and we'll probably be able to get live game updates as they're playing. UIW is kind of having some I don't want to say struggles of their own, but they're definitely having some issues also. They played East Texas A&M. They wound up losing that game 52 to 45. But
Dang,
that was, and it very much looked like it was going to be UIW, right? They had a very commanding first quarter. Everything was kind of even in the second quarter. Third quarter, it got lopsided towards A&M, and fourth quarter, A&M just kind of ran away with that. And so you could just see like they charged out early and then just kind of gassed, you know. And so that's just kind of for another program that did pretty well, and it's a D2 school. But
yeah,
if I remember correctly, they were in their own championship playoff structure, whatever it was. They went pretty deep into the playoffs last year.
yeah. I don't think they made the championship game, but they were deepish into the playoffs.
Hmm. And now this year they're 2-5, so
Yeah,
not great. Uh, but yeah, so that's kind of what's going around in college football. Uh, One thing that kind of came from last night's show. We did talk to Coach Bullock from the San Antonio Brahmas. He was a coach here in San Antonio with the Veterans Memorial High School program. He is now over at a school district somewhere near Katy. I don't remember exactly where he said, but he's definitely kind of in that Houston area. And so we're going to be reaching out to him and some of the other coaches that we know and starting to get some updates on high school players that we are going to do some features on here because we'd like to spotlight some of these kids that are going to be going into bigger programs just throughout the country because some of these guys may wind up being the next NFL player or they might wind up in the UFL, right? We just want to make sure that we're kind of keeping an eye on some of these kids and helping out some of the local talent because maybe some of them aren't getting as much attention as they need or deserve, especially some of the kids in the smaller school programs. So we want to help do our part to kind of highlight the stuff that's going on there. Now, last update of the night. I'm sure you guys have been watching. We've been posting a bunch of stuff on our Facebook page and everything, but the Continental Football League is a not a new league. It's a new league for this generation, but the Continental Football League is not a new league. This is a league that
No,
actually rivaled the NFL in the late 60s. One of the teams there was the San Antonio Toros, right? Um, but they're only there for 1 year. So that kind of stinks that we only have the 1 year of history. But anyways, this league does have a lot of history. Well, it looks like they're trying to make a comeback with a whole revamped program and everything. And if you remember, we actually had Quincy Workman of the Texas Syndicate on last week
yeah,
talking about his team and his
which
part.
is that's the team from Austin is the
Yes,
Texas Syndicate. Yeah,
yes. But their part in the Continental Football League. Uh, we should hopefully have a special guest. It'll be a recording, but we should have a special guest for next week. And if you've been watching, I've been posting some things. There are some big announcements that are going to be coming out tomorrow from the Continental Football League. Now, again, why this is important is because, first of all, there are going to be teams here in Texas, right? We talk about pretty
yep,
much everything Texas related football, whether it's UFL, arena ball, whatever the case may be, right? But I'm excited for this league because they're doing something that most other leagues have never thought to do. And it's kind of a revolutionary idea. And that's the whole continental shift, right? We talked about it last week, but
yep,
to refresh our viewers' memories, the fourth quarter, they're going to switch to Canadian football rules. Why that's important is because that gives those players an opportunity to get a little bit more experience with something that's a little different and kind of increases their worth, right? Now I know that the Canadian Football League does have some rules about how many like Americans they can have and stuff like that. But this is going to give players an opportunity to sharpen their skills and maybe make those you know few positions that they have available, put a little bit more of a competition there,
yeah.
right? So I'm very interested to see how that's going to develop. I'm extremely interested to see what announcements are coming out next week. And I've noticed that, gosh, who is it? Hang on real quick. Um,
So while you're looking at that, I mean, the Continental Football League, they're not really strangers to doing something like this. I mean, even back in the league in the '60s, they were the league that came up with the sudden death, you know,
yeah,
for overtime and stuff, which the NFL used for years and years and years. So, it's probably at that time they probably thought that what first team that scores wins. That's stupid. We're not doing that. And the NFL ended up adopting that. So I don't think that the NFL would ever adopt Canadian football rules in a fourth quarter, but it's something that is that kind of thought provoking a little bit. It's just something that's different. That hey, maybe we could do a little something to change these rules a bit.
Yeah. Well, and again, I'm all for anything that can kind of help revolutionize the game, make it a little bit more fun, make it a little bit more, of a draw for developing players, getting the best that we can out there, right? And so again, I'm very interested in this continental shift thing. It's very exciting to see, somebody kind of, maybe thinking outside the box a little bit,
Yeah,
right? As you said, the sudden death thing, it, innovation is kind of what I really like to see about the game, whether it be, the technology from the AAF, where they use the microchip to spot is like the true spot, whatever they called it. Or even the gambling technology that Tom Dundon bought the whole league for in the first place,
yeah,
right? It, it's the innovation that helps make the game better. It makes it a better experience for the fans. So then it kind of justifies those prices that you're paying, right? Now, I will say it's going to be hard just in general to justify a 350 $350 price point for tickets. Uh, but I'm asking, or I'm bringing that up because I was actually looking at tickets for a Green Bay game next year. We're going to try and make an actual, because guys, a diehard Packers fan, I've been to Lambeau several times to do the fan tour of the stadium. Never actually watched the game there. And so next year it's on the bucket list. Sleepy Brahma, aka Sabrina, she and I are going to be going to a home game in Lambeau. I'm trying to find a winter game so it's nice and cold, so we can actually enjoy the
nice. Get
full
get there
beauty.
get there for a snow game.
Yes, yes, or at least some incredible tailgates, right?
Yeah,
And so I'm going to go and I'm going to talk to everybody, right? It's going to be awesome. I'll probably be drunk as heck before we get inside, but that's what you do at a Green Bay tailgate,
that's the fun of it. That's how you
right?
tolerate the cold better. So
Yes. Yes, and Rick, you're also correct. It coincides nicely with the Canadian rules that have just changed as well, right? Canadian football fields and stuff are getting more like the NFL fields, the goalpost positions, all that good stuff, right? So there's going to be some interesting stuff that kind of comes from that. But all that to say that uh, keep your eyes out tomorrow because there should be some big announcements coming out. And as soon as they're out, we will definitely be sharing that information with all of you guys. And, again, we're here to support all football leagues. So we're definitely going to, continue to support the UFL. We will be making road games. We're still going to continue to push to bring the Brahmas back, right? Guys, remember the hashtag bring back the Brahmas. Go out and do your part, share, your pictures on your social media of you and your Brahmas gear. Go out and do some charity work and have your Brahmas gear on. Let
yep,
people know that you are still here and do that hashtag bring back the Brahmas because it's going to take everybody. If we're going to make this happen, if we're going to catch Rapoli's attention and we're going to catch the attention of city council, our mayor, possibly even Spurs Sports and Entertainment, right, to, maybe try and get an in at Toyota Field, it's going to take all of us. 10 of us isn't going to cut it. We need thousands. And I mean like thousands, like 6,000. So get out there, make some noise, continue to try and support the Brahmas, continue the hashtag bring back the Brahmas. Let Rapoli know that we're here, we're still supporting, we need our team back. Okay.
absolutely.
But in the meantime, again, we've got some great things to look forward to. I know, again, we haven't seen a lot of updates necessarily. There's been a lot of player signings, like with the San Antonio Gunslingers. I haven't really seen any action out of Corpus Christi or Abilene with the West Texas Warbirds. And I'm now having a hard time finding the Beaumont Renegades. So I'm not sure what's going on there. If they're just dormant right now because they're trying to, get the players and the staff and everything together, or if maybe that's a sign of something bigger. But again, there's not really much going on in arena football right now. That should be kicking off, or you should be seeing a lot more activity probably around the first of the year.
Yeah,
Uh,
and that's usually when we start to see those and stuff. You know.
yeah, it's just it is honestly surprising to see San Antonio making as much noise as they are this
Yeah.
early, and they are making some noise. So I'm excited to see what they're going to do this next season. Now that we have some free time potentially, I may even go to a couple of games, right? And we may have to take our show there and show those fans what it's all about. So, anyways, with that being the case, Brian, who do you guys have coming up this next week
Playing
in
Denver
the
this
NFL?
week.
Okay, that should be an interesting game.
Um, you know, it's going to be a tough test. Bo Nix is a hell of a quarterback, so
He is. He is. Um, we have. I'm trying to find the stupid schedule, but it's getting all janky on me. We have Pittsburgh.
you are playing Pittsburgh in
Hmm.
Pittsburgh.
Yes,
So
which I kind of wish it was the other way around,
yeah, I do too.
you know? Um, and because that would be, the return of, Karen Rodgers to Lambeau Field, and I'm sure he would have a very mixed reception coming back home. But Green Bay
I don't think it
also,
would be very mixed. I think it'd be a lot of boo birds flying.
I don't know, man, because there's still a lot of people wearing Aaron Rodgers Packers jerseys. So I think it would be just like with Favre, right? Favre left. Now he got razzed because he was a Viking,
Yeah.
but when he was a Jet, not so much, right? But it also is the Jets. So I mean, it's kind of where careers go to die.
I mean
Anyways,
that's kind of an insult enough as it is just wearing the Jets uniform. So
yeah. So
like you're kind of just ruining yourself at that point.
true. I'm very interested to see, especially with Parsons now, to see how that game is going to go, right? Because I don't know that Rodgers is going to want to take too many hits from Parsons. So we'll have to see what kind of game plan they come up with to try and counteract Green Bay's defense.
Yeah.
But some good football, right? That Philly New York game is not going to be good. Poor New York is going to get mown.
I think it's going to be a long day for New York.
Yep. So, but obviously, lots of great football to watch this weekend. We've got some incredible NFL games. We're going to have some incredible college football games. Like Mike G said here, I should have shared this probably a little bit earlier. IFL tryouts are going to be coming pretty soon. Uh, in fact, I know COFL, well, Texas Syndicate tryouts are going on right now. So if you were looking for, an opportunity to play football, make sure you find them on Facebook and share check them out and give it a try, see what happens. But anyways, lots of great stuff going on. We're way over on time, and I'm actually getting
Yeah,
kind of hungry.
I ain't try. I did. We did 2 hours yesterday. I ain't trying to do another 2 hours.
Exactly. And like I said, I'm starting to get hangry. So we're going to go ahead and call it here. But BD, let's close out the show. What do you got to say?
You know what? I do want to say something really quick. Um, it is not football related, but if you are in the San Antonio Bear County area, early voting started yesterday for all the propositions, namely for San Antonio, Prop A, Prop B, for the Spurs Arena, Project Marvel, all that stuff. I'm not going to tell you how to vote. I do want to tell you, look up what it is, know what you're voting for, but make a point to go out and vote. It is an important proposition. For kind of the needs of the city and stuff. Look into it, be
Mhm.
knowledgeable, and go vote. So
I'm going to second what he said. Not going to express what my actual opinion is about it. You guys don't need to know. You don't care. Okay. But make sure you're getting informed and you're
yep.
voting with your mind, not your heart or your emotions. Right. Because a vote like that, especially in something this important, could be very detrimental if
the
you're
the
just
worst the
voting.
worst kind of vote is an uninformed vote. So even if you think because you're hearing from one side or the other, all you're hearing is rhetoric on both sides, and they're twisting it to fit their point of view. Both
Right.
sides are doing it. So look at the bill, look at the propositions, and learn the truth, and just take a look at it and vote.
Yep. So, all right, close it out, Brian. What do you got?
This week, you know what? Whatever NFL, suck at LSU.
There you go. I'm gonna stick with the NFL, and I'm gonna say, suck it, Karen Rodgers, suck it, Pittsburgh, and as always, suck it, Bears. We'll see you guys next week. Take
Later,
care.
guys.